So as you guys are moving into Unit 2, Lesson 2.2, your students are going to begin using things like loops. Two of the most common loops they're going to come across are the aggregators and the accumulators. Personally, for me, I found this to be a little bit difficult to figure out exactly when to use which and when to use the other. So I want to give you a pretty common example, like your grocery receipt. So if you think about your grocery receipt, it's made up of both an accumulator and an aggregator. Let's start with the accumulator. The accumulator takes all the different values from the list and it's adding it together at the bottom to create a total. This total then is added to the tax. Now what's neat about accumulators is they're not just adding the numbers together, but you can do any of the math functions you want to. So in the case of this one, it'll take the total value before tax, it'll add it to the tax value that's calculated within all of it, and then it puts it down there. It can also be used for things like figuring out how much you saved during it. All those different savings will pop up on your receipt. Here's how much you saved. It'll also show you how many fuel points you got this order plus the fuel points from the last order. So the accumulator really does a good job of adding up and summarizing all these different numbers together. So what I want you to do now is take a few minutes and think about some of the ways your students would connect with accumulators, so you can create examples that you can take back to them. In my own classroom, some of the things they come across in school would be, one, in your classroom when they're trying to figure out their grade. Your grade book probably accumulates how many points total, and then it has how many points they've made total, and it gives them that number, and then it can tell them what their current grade is. They can calculate their current GPA with an accumulator. They can also look at how many credit hours they've completed so far and how many more they need to go. They can look at all these different things as accumulators, things that they're constantly doing in their brain where they're accumulating the different value. For some of them, it's the number of shoes they have or the number of outfits they have. It's just keeping track of that total. Now, the second type of loop that you would come across is called an aggregator. An aggregator is all about generating lists and adding new information to the list. So going back to that grocery receipt of yours, every time it adds a new item to that list, that's aggregating. It's creating this list. And within that aggregator, it has a list for the item, how much it costs, and then how much you saved, and it moves all the way down. And when you get down to the bottom where it's keeping track of the totals and stuff, that's even a list because it's got the aggregate total amount that was accumulated, so they're working together, the tax amount that's working in there, and all that. And so that's a list. Anytime you're creating a list, you want to use an aggregator. So again, you want to be thinking about where would your students be using aggregators. At school, probably some of the most common aggregators would be the list of their courses, or the list of assignments they have due, or lists of upcoming important events. These are all aggregated values. Really in school, we have tons of lists we like to use just over and over and over again. At home, they also are used to lists. If you've got a gamer, they like to have an aggregate of who's at the top of the leaderboard and who all those different players are and what those different values are. They probably have lists of chores they need to do or lists of other responsibilities that are expected of them. These are, again, aggregated lists. And so what I want you to do now, again, is just think about some of those lists that your students have in their life and help them see that even before they get into programming, they already know what an accumulator is and an aggregator is. And all they need to do is figure out how to start putting those in. Now, after you've created that list, what I would do with my students then is say, to take a moment and think to the project that they're fulfilling at the end, the paper, rock, scissors, and think about when they might have an accumulator, something that's keeping total values of the work that they're doing, and when they might have an aggregator or a list of what's been done before them. Because those thinking ahead to how they'll use that will make them want to work through these functions a little bit better. So you yourself take a few minutes and think about how you might use that, and then again how you would connect that with your own students once you get back. So take some time and take care of that now. Thank you.